Join Boise State Public Radio for a concert with blues rock guitarist and vocalist Coco Montoya at the Treefort Music Hall in Boise, February 13th, with reserved seating. A night with Coco Montoya and his band? Find details and a link for tickets at boisestatepublicradio.org.
Good morning. It's the Connector Idaho Daily News for Wednesday, February 12th. I'm Troy Oppie. This morning, more details on the city of Boise trying to get kitchen waste out of the landfill and into the compost pile, plus the personal information of hundreds of thousands of Idaho students, teachers, and academic staff were exposed last year in a hack of a software provider. We'll get an update. We have a travel advisory for anyone commuting between Southwest and Central Idaho today, and the Boise School District in a buying mood. Those stories and more this morning on The Connector, Idaho Daily News from Boise State Public Radio. The Idaho Transportation Department will temporarily close Highway 20 north of Mountain Home today for snow removal. ITD says the highway will close starting at 11 a.m. this morning between Anderson Dam Road and Hill City. It'll be closed until 5 p.m., allowing crews to remove built-up snow and overhangs. That will improve plowing conditions later this week, as a new storm is expected to bring snow to the area as early as Thursday. To the State House now, where the non-partisan Idaho Center for Fiscal Policy yesterday released analysis of 4 pieces of legislation related to education and taxation. First, the center found that Medicaid expansion has been a cash saver for Idaho. It's grown slower than the overall rate of inflation and slower than the state's general fund spending. Lawmakers want to repeal the voter-approved expansion of Medicaid. Separately, the center questioned the impact that school voucher bills could have on rural or low-income students, saying both House and Senate proposals don't actually expand school choice for all students, and they would both come at the expense of public school budgets, which are already some of the lowest in the country per student. And the center scored the House income tax proposal as regressive, providing a greater share of tax relief to wealthy households and increasing the share of public funding that is paid by lower income taxpayers. An Idaho House committee is freezing a bill for now that would forbid those receiving federal food benefits from using them to buy candy or soda. James Dawson has more.
The proposal hopes to cut the amount of unhealthy food SNAP enrollees can buy, potentially making their diets more nutritious. Republican Representative Lucas Kaler supports the bill, but he says the House Health and Welfare Committee should take 2 weeks to further hash out the details.
If I were writing it, I would have included a whole lot more in with regard to what kind of foods should we be regulating that are incredibly unhealthy.
Dawn Pierce, a board member for the Idaho Hunger Relief Task Force, opposed the bill. She says SNAP recipients aren't responsible for America's obesity epidemic.
That is a misleading and harmful overreach and further demonizes the least and the last of our neighbors.
Lobbyists for retail stores and grocers also testified against the measure, saying it would be too complicated to implement and would limit customers' freedom of choice. Committee members will regroup on the issue in late February. James Dawson, Boise State Public Radio News.
The state Senate today could vote on the joint resolution that will make it harder for citizen-led initiatives to reach the ballot. Senate Joint Resolution 101 would require 6% of voters in each district across the state to sign petitions for an issue to reach the ballot. That's twice the number of districts of the current requirement. Lawmakers previously passed a bill to change the initiative process in this way, but it was declared unconstitutional. Now, the joint resolution would require 60% approval from each the state Senate and House to pass, plus a simple majority of voters in the November 2026 general election. Facing the possibility of high-density housing developments, the Boise School District Board of Trustees this week approved a $3.4 million purchase of just under 2 acres of land west of the Timberline High School football field. The district, in a news release, says the possible development of the parcel led to concerns over traffic increases and student safety. Those conversations led to the developer approaching the district with a deal, which District Board of Trustees President Dave Wagers noted was equal to the assessed value of the land. The district says it will fund the purchase through its plant facility fund, and there are no immediate plans for the property's development, but the best use of the parcel for student and community support will guide any future development decisions. Late last year, the personal information of hundreds of thousands of Idaho students and education staff was compromised in a cybersecurity breach. Julie Luqueta has this update.
About two-thirds of Idaho's roughly 190 school districts use PowerSchool, a private software program to manage students' information and progress. The security hack affected users across the country. State Board of Education Chief Technology Officer Chris Campbell says schools are still investigating how many people were targeted.
Districts that have reported to us as of this point have estimated approximately 425,000 student records that have potentially been impacted, and approximately 80,000 staff records.
The stolen data includes names, addresses, and grades, but Campbell says the scope is still unclear.
There are some scenarios where an individual's more private information might have been available as well, possibly including some medical information or social security numbers in some instances.
PowerSchool says the breach is contained. The company is making credit monitoring and identity protection services available to those affected. Julie Luqueta, Boise State Public Radio News.
More information on PowerSchool updates can be found on boisestatepublicradio.org. A recent change means Boise residents can now throw their meat, milk, and muffins into their compost bin. Jamie Geary has more on the city program that's trying to redirect more waste out of local landfills.
Late last month, the Boise Public Works Department announced new types of food can now be composted. Boiseans can now place meat, dairy, grains, and cooking oil in their green trash containers. In 2017, the department rolled out green compost bins alongside traditional gray trash and blue recycling bins. Separating plant debris and kitchen scraps out of the trash stream means fewer greenhouse gases produced. That's because landfills are mostly anaerobic, and organic materials emit methane in that environment. Composting needs oxygen, and decomposing materials release less toxic greenhouse gases. The Environmental Protection Agency reports discarded food accounts for about a quarter of landfill waste and almost 60% of methane emissions produced by landfills.
Having those findings come to light really kind of gave us that fuel and fire to move this forward and make sure that we're doing our part to keep that food waste out and to prevent those methane emissions.
That's Lisa Knapp, director of Boise's Materials Management Program. She says these statistics motivated her program to work to allow more types of food waste for city composting.
As it adds a ton of bacteria and microbiological activity into the soil, and that helps us to grow healthy, productive plants with lots of greenery. And those plants magically capture carbon out of our atmosphere.
Knapp says the existing composting process doesn't have to be changed to accommodate the new compostable items. She does recommend freezing meat before placing it in the compost bin to reduce its odor. The city of Boise says roughly 97% of households have a dedicated compost bin, and that keeps more than 30,000 tons of waste out of landfills yearly. Knapp says as of September, Boise residents living in apartments or condos have 2 public drop-offs for food waste.
If you're out there and you are thinking, what can I do with my organic waste, and you live in an apartment, this is a great option for you. And it's free.
100 Boise families have registered for the pilot program, which will conclude this September. Knapp says this enrollment number is a success and hopes for a permanent program to be implemented. Jamie Geary, Boise State Public Radio News.
And finally, this morning, the College of Idaho in Caldwell will rename its basketball arena in honor of basketball legend Elgin Baylor. He played at the college in 1954. Baylor came to Caldwell from Washington, D.C. He joined 4 other black players on the C of I roster that year, as the school was one of few willing to integrate at the time. Elgin Baylor went on to become the first black player to be the top overall pick in the NBA draft. He had a Hall of Fame career with the Los Angeles Lakers. Baylor died in 2021 at the age of 86. C of I plans a dedication ceremony for the Elgin Baylor Arena at halftime of its game a week from Friday, February 21st in Caldwell. Thanks for listening to the Connector Idaho Daily News. Like us, subscribe, leave us a review if you want. You can send feedback directly to us, Boise State Public Radio at boisestate.edu. I'm Troy Oppie. Our news director is Sasha Woodruff. Our general manager is Tom Michael. And I hope you make it a great day. We'll catch you again on Thursday.
Each morning, it's a new opportunity, a chance to start fresh. Up First from NPR makes each morning an opportunity to learn and to understand. Choose to join the world every morning with Up First, a podcast that hands you everything going on across the globe and down the street, all in 15 minutes or less. Start your day informed and anew with Up First by subscribing wherever you get your podcasts.